Hi, everyone. Kate Byers, founder of Corporate Women Unleashed. We are live today with a broadcast on burnout. Super excited to be sharing this with you. And we're gonna have an important conversation, okay? And it's not going to be a rah-rah cheerleader conversation. It's going to be one that I hope every woman can really hear this message. It was a tough message for me to hear years ago, but it's one that I think is it's time. We got to get it out there, right? So the topic today is, what is the number one habit everyone needs to understand if you're going to avoid burnout? It really to have success without sacrifice, right? That's what I want every woman to understand. You do not have to step back from a huge career or any career because you feel like you're in this mode of sacrifice, sacrificing your personal time, sacrificing your marriage, sacrificing your health. That is not have to happen. Okay. So we're going to have an important conversation today. And part of this is really motivated by the fact that we've had over the last 2 or 3 weeks, women on our calls who will book a call with us. We do a free strategy session, and we'll invite them to come work with us. And they will all of a sudden just collapse. They'll be like, oh my God, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. Kate, this sounds amazing. And boom. What happens? Why do they choose burnout? Why would you choose burnout instead of freedom? Why would you choose burnout instead of stepping forward and learning how to navigate your career powerfully so that you can have freedom and success without sacrifice? Why? All right, so we're going to talk about it. And I wrote some notes because I don't want to forget anything. Why would you not step into freedom? Well, part of it is our wiring, okay? If you are a high achieving woman, there's a reason that you need to achieve. There's a reason that you are called to be an achiever, right? Some people aren't. Some people are just really happy with like going to work, coming home, and that's great. But high achieving women, women who are successful, are driven by a different DNA. And that DNA was not born into you. It was given to you through our society, through parenting, through your childhood, okay? So the number one reason, the habit that's causing burnout, is your internal critic, okay? Ultimately, what happens, whether you are hearing this critic and you are actually hearing the voice of your critic, or it is coming out in your decision-making, the critic is telling you, this isn't possible. Okay, so here's some things that we hear a lot. I should be able to solve this myself, right? You're a game changer. You're successful. You're blowing it away your career, but yet you aren't coming home and succeeding in your home life. You're telling your spouse, not tonight. Too tired. Can you get the kids? I know this weekend I got to work. And this is happening consistently, and you're watching your marriage diminish. You're watching your marriage be damaged, or you're seeing into the future that if you don't start showing up in your marriage differently, it is going to go off course. But why would you continue to choose your career over that? Because I'll be able to figure this out. I'm a high achiever. And where does that come from? Like, I heard this all the time from my dad. My dad used to say, don't ever show up at the kitchen table and ask for help if you don't bring me a solution. Why did he do that? He wanted his daughters to grow up being self-sufficient. It scared him to think that we would go out into the world and just like not know what to do. So he said, you do not come to the table and ask me for help unless you have a solution. So if you're on the phone with us, for example, or anyone, I don't care if you're talking to hire a personal trainer, it is going to be very difficult for you to say, I need help. I can't figure this out myself. Or maybe it's not even that you can't figure out. It's like, I want to get there now and I don't want to waste any more time. And this took me forever in my career because of this deep-seated psychology, this fear-based psychology, that if I don't know the answer, if I don't know how to figure it out, I'm not really valuable. I'm somehow failing, because that was the subliminal message I was getting from my dad when he told me that. Does that make sense? If this makes sense from you and you've had a similar experience in hearing this in your childhood, that just that little piece that you better be the one that has the solution, go ahead and write it in the comments. Share that. Other women need to see that. You're not the only one who feels that way, okay? So when we are saying to you, for example, on our call, hey, look, let's join us. Let's get you in and let's show you how to start navigating your career differently. It's like, oh, I'm so ready. And then, oh my gosh, all of a sudden that psychology kicks in and says, I can't do this. I got to figure it out myself. I don't know. That is a fear-based psychology. And what it's saying is if you can't figure this out yourself, there's something wrong with you. And we would rather choose the suffering of success and suffer through success than actually accept help. This took me forever to figure out that I could actually invest in getting people to do the things for me or showing me the way so I could get there quickly. And once I reframed it for myself, like for a long time, I think I've shared this before, I kept trying to garden, right? I love being in the garden and I'm really bad at it. Like I did not have a green thumb, but I kept thinking like, oh, I'll figure out how to garden. I bought all these books and it was like, great. And like 3 years into it, I still had weeds and like dead stuff in my yard. And when I really thought about it, I was like, Kate, do you really want to garden? Like, are you finding joy in gardening? Because you're sure as hell not finding results. Or do you want to walk out in your backyard and enjoy an amazing garden? Do you want to occasionally like clip a tulip or clip a rose or like pick some herbs that someone else has planted for you because you're not really knowing how to get there? And instead, because of my psychology, like you have to do it, Kate, you have to do it. You don't hire someone to do this for you. You don't pay money for someone to like grow a garden for you. You could figure this out. That was so embedded in my psychology that I spent like, I think it was more than that. It must've been 5 or 6 years with like a really, excuse my language, shitty backyard. Like really. And then finally I was like, this is ridiculous, Kate. Like, yes, you could probably eventually figure this out by yourself, but you could also spend 10 years of your life like wanting a garden and not having it. So let's get a garden. So I hired someone who came in, I paid them, all this wonderful money. And I said, I just want a really beautiful garden. And I don't want to do it. I just want you to show me how to maintain it and just build it for me. Like give me something sustainable. And they did. And you know what? I love my garden now. But you see the difference? I had to get out of that mindset, that criticism, that internal critic that said, Kate, you should be able to do this yourself. Well, it wasn't, I probably could eventually, but it wasn't working. Okay. The other thing here is I shouldn't spend that much money. Wow. This is huge. Uber successful women cling to money like nobody's business. And here's why. There's 2 reasons. One is you have a very high need for autonomy, okay? Freedom. And what money means to you is freedom. So if I spend money over there, then what if something else comes up I want to spend money on? I won't have the freedom to spend it. So we love having piles of money because it means freedom. Or 2, you have high security needs. So uber successful women might also be working so hard for security. And there's this sense of like, oh my God, if I spend money, I might never be able to replace it. And where both of those come from, again, is back in your childhood. Like my father, again, this poor guy, I'm going to pick on him in today's broadcast. He would always say things to me and to my sister, like, we weren't able, like, I love strawberries. Like, oh, my favorite fruit is strawberries. And I love blueberries. And my father would say, well, we're not buying those. We're buying apples and bananas. And I'd be like, Dad, but I love strawberries. He's like, well, strawberries are whatever, $3 a pint. And you could buy a bushel of apples for $3. Right. So there was this like criticism in that. You're choosing the wrong thing, Kate. You're choosing something too expensive. Fruit is fruit. Buy apples and bananas. They're cheaper. I didn't want apples and bananas. I wanted strawberries. And I grew up in my whole childhood not having strawberries. And so I grew up really feeling bad about myself when I spent money. I felt like I was doing something wrong and I had to think about it. And I had to talk to my girlfriends and I had to talk to my husband and I had to do all these calculations and I had to look all over the place. Was there anything cheaper or a better deal or a better value? Oh my God, this wastes so much mental energy. And at this point, you're successful enough in your career that you could be able to spend money on pretty much anything you want because you know how to make money. We always say that to women when we talk to them on the calls. We're like, look, this is never a money issue. There's a lot of other things going on in your psychology. It's not a money issue. And it's not because we don't have money or we all just want to throw money around and just like charge up our credit cards. I mean, look, you could be a millionaire and be broke, right? It's not about that. We all want to make good decisions. But what I had to learn and what we always say to women is like, look, you have to learn that you want to invest money in things that increase the quality of your life. So for years, I would buy tons and tons of cheap shoes because it was okay to buy a cheap shoe, right? If I was buying a cheap shoe, it was okay. I had permission to do that because my critic wouldn't come in, right? But the minute I went to buy an expensive shoe, that critic just came right out at me and it was like, how could you spend that much money on shoes? That's stupid. These other shoes are just as good. Well, they weren't. They hurt my feet. They didn't look as pretty. They didn't feel as good. I had a closet full of cheap shoes because it was okay to buy cheap shoes, right? That's my psychology versus buying, a handful of really expensive shoes that I love and I love putting on and they feel good and I can wear them all day long, et cetera, right? So it's the same thing in our psychology is when we go to create change in our life, a lot of times we're choosing things that are really low end and aren't really going to get you the result because your psychology says, you're making the wrong choice. You are failing by doing this. So a great example from my own experience is for a long time, I've always liked to work out and I've always wanted to be fit. And I've always ridden this roller coaster of like weight up, weight down, feeling strong, feeling weak, blah, blah, blah. So when I was on this roller coaster, this was like back in my 20s and 30s, what I was doing is I would, I didn't have YouTube back then, but I would like do these mail order videotapes. Like I did the mail order videotape. And then I would do like the cheap club that was nearby, like the cheap, whatever, Bally's or something. Sorry, Bally's. So I would kind of like put my toe in working out. And then I would beat myself and say, Kate, if you were just more committed, if you just showed up at Bally's every day, if you would just do that videotape like they told you to, you would have this rock solid body. And so I would criticize myself. The problem was I didn't have the right tools. I was doing all these little cheap things that weren't enough for me. Now, they may have been enough for Sally down the road. Good for Sally. It wasn't enough for me. It wasn't getting me the outcome. But it was in my psychology to beat myself up instead of walking in the door to a super nice club that was bigger investment and hiring a trainer that was a big investment and say, dude, here's the outcome I want. I need to look this way. I want to feel this way. I want to have this kind of strength. This is what I can't do for myself. I mean, maybe I could if I was a monk and had nothing to do all day, but like work out, but I don't. I have this thing called life that's really full. Get me where I want to be. And when I made that investment in increasing the quality of my health and getting something I want, guess what? I showed up. I worked out. When the guy told me to eat broccoli with, no cheese on it, which sucked, I did it. Like I did everything he asked and I got rock hard abs. I got, beautiful arms. I felt amazing. And from that point forward, because I invested in something that was increasing the quality of my life and there was a foundation there, I was able to maintain and sustain. And then every time I need to go back or I want to get the next edge, I just pop back in and I get some more help and support. Quality investment. Does that make sense? But that's psychology. It's never about the money. It's about the commitment. Do you really want it? Okay. Here's another one that's really great. You got it pretty good. I mean, this is the bane of successful women. If you're a successful one, this is the bane of your existence because everyone else in the world sees you as uber successful. You should be happy with what you want. My God, you already have so much, whether it's money or your marriage or great kids or great house or a great job, whatever it is, right? Everyone in the world is telling you, you better be grateful for what you have. Does that sound familiar? I bet you heard that in your childhood, right? Because when your parents bought you a toy and then you're like, I don't want that toy. I want another one now. It was like, you better be grateful for what you have. Oh my God, we hear this over and over again. Yes, we want to be grateful. Absolutely. You need to live in gratitude every day of your life. It is one of the keys to happiness and fulfillment. But living in gratitude does not mean curling up in a ball and stopping and dying. Living in gratitude means this feels good and I see a lot of goodness around me. Now, what else can I do to evolve? Great example. My husband's not a huge pet person and we got a French bulldog years ago. And the French bulldog, sorry for all you pet lovers, I did go to a breeder, the only dog I've ever gotten from a breeder, forgive me. And so we went to the breeder and the breeder had like 30 dogs in these cages. So this cute little French bulldog that we brought home lived in cages with 30 dogs. Probably not the best quality existence, but it wasn't horrible. I mean, they were clean and right? So we bring this amazing dog home and we give him a crate, which looks just like the crate he's been in, but now he gets to be all by himself. Have we upgraded his existence? Does he have a higher quality of life? I think so. He doesn't have 30 yapping crate mates. Okay, good. But guess what happens? When we leave the crate unlocked, he goes and he sleeps on the carpet instead of in the crate. That's odd. We've already given him a better life in a crate. Why would he go on the carpet? And then you know what? Pretty soon we found him that he was actually up on a cushion. Well, that's weird. I mean, the crate was better. The carpet was better. Now he wants a cushion. Before you know it, he's in the easy chair. From the easy chair, he goes to the couch. My husband's like, that damn dog. And I'm like, this is the whole point. We evolve our existence, guys. It is innate. It is innate. But in our culture, in our first world culture, we have this amazing repertoire of, you better want to be a success, but don't be too successful. You better be a success, but you better be grateful. You better want something, but don't want it too bad. Hello? So here we go. We have so many women who are like, wait a minute, maybe I should just be happy with what I have. This is all there is. And again, if you buy into that, that was given to you. But if you continue to buy into that, now that you know, that is all that you will have. So just like my little French bulldog who continued to upgrade his existence, now he's sleeping in bed with my son. I mean, it's like, I don't know what's next. We're gonna have to get him his own room or something, but it is innate in our evolution to want to evolve. So if you are telling yourself, I really shouldn't want this, that is your critic sitting on your shoulder. And that is attributing to burnout, being unfulfilled and unhappy. Okay, next, it's not really possible. You know, it's not really possible to have a big, huge career without sacrifice. I get it. I thought that too, right? I bought into that for 15 years. Took me another 10 to figure out how to solve this riddle. Like, there's only a handful of people that really walk around the earth that we see that have really huge careers and seem to have a lot of freedom. And they're all like uber riche or like uber successful, like on a scale that doesn't seem like attainable for the rest of us. And that's just bullshit. I'm sorry. So again, though, we've been told as in our youth is don't expect too much. Don't want too much. And here's the thing, because if you want something and you fail to obtain it, it is a crisis, right? And so what happens a lot of times in parenting with our teachers, with different authority figures in our life, it's almost like they don't want to see you disappointed and it hurts them to see you cry or to be hurt. So if your parents never really tell you, you can achieve anything you want on any scale or level you want. If it's like, I'm not sure you should really be doing that. You might not be really geared for that. That right there sets off a cycle in you for life that maybe what you really want is not possible. You know what I mean? That sounds too far-fetched. What if it is far-fetched, right? Like I finally had to get to that point in my life. And that's what finally created the pivot for me to create change. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, how much longer am I going to suffer through life? Something's got to change. It is going to change. And I tried everything external to me. And finally I realized I had to change me, right? Like I was the change I needed to see. You hear that? Totally true. The other thing that can happen is a lot of times we're afraid of actually seeing that success, right? So sometimes our greatest fear is not in failure, but is in becoming what we want, the change we want to see. That's scary. That is real scary. And that's probably the number one reason that we do these calls for our program, right? For executive women, high achieving women, to see if they're a fit, to see how we can help them and to see what's really going on for them in their career. And only about 30% of those women will we invite into the program because a lot of women just aren't ready, or maybe they need like another solution that we don't help. And so we'll get them, we'll schedule them with someone else. But for the women who don't move forward and enroll, 99.999%, that is it. They have become so attached to their psychology and so attached to their belief system, their way of living, that thinking about succeeding in a different way is absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Okay. And I want you guys to really sit with that because this, you probably can't see that, but now that I've opened that door for you, I want you to explore that. Because you have everyone around you telling you that you shouldn't want anymore. You have everyone around you telling you should be happy with what you have. You have this critic telling you that you're being selfish, that you want too much. Can't you just be grateful? You have this critic telling you that, is it really possible? But ultimately, what really could be frightening you and creating you this situation where you're sitting where you're at is that to have that and to be in that rare 1% that actually experiences life that way, that may be more frightening for you than succeeding at that than anything. And that is the biggest roadblock we see with women moving forward and creating change. Okay. Here's the other one I love. I never make a decision without whatever. So you've decided that you want to lose weight. How long do you think about it? So right now, if you want to lose weight, if you want to lose 10 pounds right now, then I want you to throw out all the food you brought with you to work. I want you to stop drinking all the Cokes, give up the coffee. Right now, you're going to lose weight. Right now, the very next thing you put in your mouth is going to be water and lettuce. And you're going to make a phone call right now and you're going to get a personal trainer and you're going to lose weight. Are you ready? Go. Well, I mean, Kate, it's Thanksgiving and I mean, there's like pies coming up and then like there's holidays and gosh, I don't know, like I'd have to see like what kind of trainer and what are they going to do. Done. You are done. You have just sabotaged your ability to change right there. You're playing small. Sorry, I did this for years myself. You're playing small. It is very simple. You're either going to create change or you're not. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to talk to your husband. You don't have to talk to your cat. You don't have to talk to your girlfriend. You don't have to look at customer reviews. You don't have to look the trainer up on Google to see how many reviews he has in 5 stars. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You know if you're going to invest in creating change or not. You know it right now. It is not a big mystery. And so a lot of times, like in our company, what happens is when we're looking on the phone, it's like they want us to convince them that we have some shiny object. And if it's shiny enough, they might do it. And I'm like, that's not the point. When I hired my personal trainer and I invested in myself that way, I didn't say, well, tell me how many sit-ups am I gonna have to do every day? You gonna do weights or do I have to run? I don't know. Am I gonna have to show up at 6 a.m.? What's really involved in this, dude? I was like, dude, this is what I want. I understand after talking with you for the last 20, 30 minutes that you're very clear on how to get that result. I like what you're saying. Let's do this. I didn't care how he was going to do it. I didn't care what time I had to show up. I didn't care what was involved. That's what I wanted. Same thing when I hired the gardening people to come out and build my garden. I wasn't like, so what kind of plants are you going to use? You're going to put them here. What time of day are you going to be planting? Is it this, this, and this? The minute you have conditions that have to be met before you'll change, you are dead in the water. And whatever you choose, that step you make is 10 times smaller and will get you 10 times smaller result. I can just absolutely promise you every single time. And you have to look back in your history to see that. It has absolutely proven itself true over and over again. Like the women we work with, they get on the call with us. We have a chit chat. They explain what's going on. We explain what we see. And we said, this is what's going on and what's possible for you. And if it's a fit, they're like, boom, let's do this. I don't care what I got to do. Just like, let's get this on. Get me to where I want to be. It is a very simple decision. If you are contemplating change in your life, if you're contemplating losing weight, if you're contemplating redoing your garden like I did, if you're contemplating renovating your house, if it is taking you this much headspace to make a decision, you're not really committed. And whatever's going to happen is going to be a much smaller decision in the end. Okay. And it's not going to get you the bigger result you really want. When we walk past the little internal critic that's sitting on our shoulder, we walk through that fear and we're like, damn it, I want it. I'm going to do it. We're going to figure it out. Doesn't matter how many mistakes I make along the way. I am getting this done. Now we are in a space in our heads and in our hearts that is going to create the change we want to see. Otherwise, we cling to burnout. We cling to small. We cling to sacrifice. We cling to trade-offs. Does that make sense? So I want every woman to hear this loud and clear because this is happening much more often in a female psychology than it is in a male psychology, okay? And I don't want to make these huge comparisons versus women and men because men have their own issues and stuff they get stuck in and blah, blah, blah. But it is okay to be scared. It is okay to have fear. It's okay to have a self-critic that was given to you. But now that you know this, it is your job to get past that and create the fulfilling life you want. And for high achieving women who have this achievement baked in their DNA, stepping back, moving off from your career, your paycheck, your salary, your lifestyle, that ain't it. Okay. That is not it. We see more and more women doing that and then living these compromised lives and going, wow, I could have been, I should have been, I would have been, or staying in their role and going, wow, well, I could have showed up differently with my kids and now they're grown. Damn. Wow, I could have had a better marriage and now we're struggling. Damn, right? Those are two ends of the spectrum that just need to go down here, guys. Just get rid of them. Just get rid of the spectrum. Where we operate is up here. There's a whole new level of well-being and a whole new level of thriving that neither of those have to apply to, but it has to start up here with a decision that this critic that has been with you so long, that has whipped you up the corporate ladder into great levels of success, no longer gets to control your life. Okay. So if any of those things that I shared with you resonate, put a 1 in the comments, or share this with another woman you know. Put her name, tag her in the comments, whatever channel you're seeing this on, so she gets the benefit of this, because you know there's another woman out there burning out. You know there's another woman out there who's a high achiever, who's a workaholic, who's an overachiever, who is doing too much, and she's missing out on her life. Look, she was a little girl once with huge dreams, and her dream was not to have a big, audacious career at the expense of her soul, right? That is no one's dream, ever. No one said that ever. So this fear-based psychology that we have, this critic that has gotten you to this level of success, you've got to learn how to get rid of it. You've got to learn how to not listen to it. And when it pops up, you've got to know very quickly, immediately, just to be like, I know what that is, and I'm not going to react to it that way. I'm going to make a different decision. Because what happens is it creates an emotional trigger that's subconscious that has you creating a decision for yourself that feels good. It feels good because that internal critic has been with you for so long that doing the opposite of that, or doing something that's more risky or more daring, that's less comfortable, it doesn't feel good, does it? So that critic is such a nice warm cloak. Oh, such a good blanket that makes us feel safe, but it's creating a diminished life, a life of far less success across all areas of your life, and certainly holding you back from the fulfillment. So thank you for listening to this very important broadcast, guys. Again, we've just seen too many women on the phone in the last few weeks who have really just shrunk back into their small self instead of moving forward. These are women who are on the road, if not experiencing burnout on a daily basis, or simply women who want more. Like they just know that more is available to them, and they're choosing less. And that breaks my heart, because it doesn't have to be that way. So if you are a high achieving woman, if you're an executive woman, you're someone who has a demanding career where you are working more hours than you need to, when your career is on your mind more than it needs to be, and you need to learn how to navigate that career differently so that you can have success without sacrifice, I want you to book a call with us. Right now we are booked up. We've got a lot of women on the books, which is awesome. So this is the best time of year to get going, because we give you some extra time with us and all that because of the holidays. So book a call. Let's see what's possible for you. Look, if it's not a fit, we're going to tell you, and we're going to suggest something else. If it is, we're going to invite you in and be ready to be decisive, and let's get going, right? So thank you guys for being here on the broadcast today. We will put that booking link below in the comments, and look forward to speaking to a lot of you soon. All right, take care. Bye.